are tuned in to Radio JetPackJay. I'm your host, DJ Matty Nice. You're in for a fun one today, people. I'm gonna toss it over to your host, the one with the most. He's gonna let you know the fun stuff that we're gonna get into today. Alright, Sanjay.
Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of the Full Honest Podcast. I think you guys know what we're going to talk about. It's debilitating. It hurts. We hate to. You know, I didn't want it to be a political podcast. That's not at all what the goal was. But it just happens to be election season, and it is a doozy.
Yeah, that's right.
In a bad way, in a terrible way.
We chose to make a current event podcast during a very climactic current time, exactly.
And you know what? Good for us, I guess, because that at least we're up to date on when World War III starts. You know, once we're gonna know when the nukes drop. So
exactly,
if you guys stay tuned in, we'll let you know when it's coming.
This is gonna be like a little history thing. People are gonna look back on and be like, "Wow,
these guys were up
this
to
is
date.
a lens
They were current
through which we can see, what people thought."
So, if you have been keeping up, basically.
If you haven't been living under a rock, in other words.
Last week, there was an assassination attempt on former President Trump, and they got hit. They hit him. They didn't miss. He didn't miss. The shooter didn't miss. They hit Trump. Whether you think it was the bullet or whatever your conspiracy theories might be, he got shot. We will go down conspiracy way at some point. I guarantee you that. That's one of the highlights, one of my favorite things to do. So we will hit conspiracy way. But President Trump had an assassination attempt that failed. Secret Service massively failed. We'll talk about that too, maybe. They massively failed in protecting him. And then this past weekend, Biden got sick with COVID, and they shuffled him off to his home in Delaware, where he decided to drop out of the race, or he's refusing the nomination for the 2024 presidency or presidential nomination.
You're saying a lot of theys. Who are the theys in these situations? Who is the they?
To conspiracy way. So
who's they who took out Trump, and who is they that took out Biden? You know, who are all these theys? You got to be more specific, man.
We know who the shooter was because they blew his brains out on top of that building.
He didn't recognize. He's not a they. He was a he. He was most likely, unless he identified as
he was a he.
We don't know.
We know who he was. I forget his name. Crooks, which is just a perfect name.
Timothy
honestly.
Crooks. Maybe no.
Timmy Crooks,
something like that. I can't remember. You know, the brain. Rarely works.
If you want to say it's an inside job, I would say okay, it was an inside job with the Secret Service where they were like, all right, we're gonna purposely not check that building over there that has a perfect sightline on Donald Trump, the former president, and we're just gonna, there were people in the crowd who saw him climbing on the building. There's evidence that he was up there for like 15 minutes before he pulled the shot off. The only reason that he missed is what they say is that a police officer actually went up there to be like, hey, what are you doing? And the shooter pointed the gun at the police officer. He was climbing a ladder, pointed the gun at the officer. He popped his head up, was like, hey, what are you doing? And climbed back down because he didn't want to get shot. And then he immediately took the shots at Trump after that. So you could say he got lucky and maybe he missed, as in didn't splatter his brains on national television because the police officer interrupted him in setting his shot up, and he pulled the he set up shot immediately instead of taking the 1 or 2 extra seconds a shooter would normally take to get their breathing right to get the shot right, because that's a far shot. 150 yards is a football field and a half. And also shooting at a decline and with wind, like to take that shot. We've been to the shooting range. We've shot similar guns at this person, the AR-15. We know how the bullets work.
Not at a third of that distance.
Yeah, at a third of that distance. So
not even. We shoot at like 30 or 40 yards.
Yeah, the furthest that the range goes, I think, is like 70
50.
yards or something, or maybe not even 70 yards.
It's half a football field. I think it's 50.
So we're shooting straight on, and these bullets are faster than the speed of sound. So it's not like Trump heard it and looked and then was like, "Oh, there's a bullet coming. You can't. There's no way."
My only thing is why? How come there was a shot fired?
There was 3 shots fired consecutively, and then there was a pause, and then another 4 or 5.
I didn't know there were 3 shots.
Yeah,
I didn't know there was a volley of shots. My only thing was like, if the Secret Service had eyes on him, how come they waited conveniently for him to shoot once or twice? But no, I thought he only got like 1 or 2 shots off.
No,
he fired a lot. He just has terrible aim. The guy couldn't make his JV shooting team.
Yeah,
that's
but
JV we're talking about. That lets people in for participation.
Yeah, but JV, the shooting,
Crooks
the
was a
shooting
dweeb.
Is way different.
Got mad that his team didn't accept him, so he's like, "All right, I'm gonna go kill the president.
I want to go take out the president.
Go take out former President Trump."
Yeah. So if you want to say it's an inside job, it was probably an inside job on the Secret Service side trying to take out Trump. If
so, they were going to be negligent, purposely
negligent, so that the president could get assassinated. And there's graphics on Twitter. We could have pulled this. We didn't have much time to do some prep work today, but there's graphics on Twitter, the internet, wherever, where you can see that President Trump turned his head so much, and that's why it clipped his ear instead of going through the back of his head and having a pink mist.
Because Twitter, the source of all news.
Yes, sir.
We should definitely trust the man who funds Trump $45 million to put up a platform that is going to be a bastion for both sides being presented evenly and fairly, and not in a hateful way. Yep. Oh, Twitter. I'm happy I'm not on it anymore. Gotta be real with you. Definitely one of the worst social medias out there.
It's good if you're looking for, like, I use it for financial news.
Dude, it's not.
And that's different.
It's good for news. It's good for getting literally news. Like, if you follow Adam Schefter, sports guy, on Twitter, like, you're gonna know football news before ESPN knows it. You know,
exactly.
It's because Schefty's like, hey, fucking Aaron Rodgers took a shit. You guys need to know. He's not here.
There were 3 pieces of corn in his poop.
Right. Aaron Rodgers just took a dump today. He was this big. Shout out, guys, because this is a Sanjay. This is a Sanjay grown cucumber.
Damn, son.
Yes, sir.
Where'd you find this?
In Sanjay's garden.
In the yard, buddy. Found it in the yard.
Nah, you found it at Menards or wherever you went to gardening shopping or whatever. But
I got the seeds from Menards.
Yeah.
Shout out Menards, bro. They're the plug, dude.
Yeah, right.
Gardening supplies, cucumbers in seed form, everything you could possibly need.
Go Menards.
Straight off the bat, that's crazy. It's a good cucumber, right?
It's a pretty good cucumber.
It's crunchy, it's crisp, it's quite tasty. That was wild, though. I was not expecting that. That was crazy. Now you're gonna eat that like tonight.
That is true. I mean, it's not like an apple. It's not gonna go brown or anything.
I guess not. Probably
Maybe I'll
not.
eat it in this pod.
We'll see.
I don't eat any vegetables anymore because vegetables suck and they're kind of expensive and they go bad really fast.
Yeah, they do go bad pretty quick now.
No, when you get a good vegetable, shit slaps.
Crunch it right on the pod. Yeah. So basically, there was the assassination attempt, and now this past weekend, Biden had caught, I almost said malaria, which would almost be better than COVID at this point. Like, he caught the new COVID, which there's a new COVID in case you guys didn't know. And I guess it's terminal is what he's reached some point in a disease where it's terminal, and so that's what the reports on Twitter say.
He doesn't have a pre-existing condition. Damn, you're reading this shit on Twitter, bro.
So
you can't trust.
Dude, it's the bastion of free
speech.
It's where you go for news. And all of this stuff gets reported anyways on fucking CNN and Fox anyways. It's just already there on the internet. So why wait? It's going to get reported anyways. More than likely. Probably. We'll see. I have no idea.
Sometimes things
But
don't
here's the so then Biden gives up his nomination and endorses. He doesn't endorse Kamala Harris right away. Well, you know what really makes me mad is why are people regarding Joe Biden as some kind of national hero for stepping down from this. Like,
when did he endorse Kamala Harris? When did he say anything to the public yet?
He hasn't said anything in person. He hasn't appeared before a camera.
Did he tweet? I believe Kamala Harris.
Yes, he tweeted both of these things. He didn't even send his letter out to the news. He put it on Twitter first. So that's why you go to Twitter for your news.
Gosh, what does the rest of the world think of Americans?
Honest.
It's like they're putting their political dirt, their most important political matters, all on Twitter.
Well, here's the thing: is where are you going to reach more people?
Is that the forum of the people now? I guess.
Exactly. Where are you going to reach more people? The internet or cable news, where it's been dying for the last 15 years?
But it's like on Twitter, you're just gonna.
Oh, it's all degenerates. That's what
right, you're going to reach the degenerates. You're not going to reach necessarily people who are going to be politically active. Some people on Twitter, I'm sure,
plenty of people are politically active.
But I mean, they're more just...
And that's also the people
they're just running their Twitter fingers. They're not actually going to vote.
Yeah, it's all engaging. They're all doing it to make money. That's why they're on Twitter, because you can make money on Twitter.
How do people make money on Twitter? How do you advertise on Twitter? You just are a shill?
Account. Yeah,
basically. Shill for somebody? It's
you engagement farm.
Every other tweet, you're all like, hey, shave your balls, get some Manscaped.
No, you purposely put out information or tweets that are going to make people talk, because it's like...
So you're saying you're purposely being incendiary.
Yes, exactly, basically. So you can get engagement, and you're like, this is going to piss off this side, and once those people start commenting, the people are going to defend the topic, and they're going to start battling, and it's just going to create...
You're just going for the controversy.
Interest. Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so Elon Musk is trying... He says he banned that on Twitter, but it's not. It's impossible.
Elon Musk hasn't banned a thing on Twitter. He fired half the staff, and now it's just a... shit show, I'm sure. I don't know. I haven't been on since I deleted my Twitter in 2017.
Yeah, I deleted Twitter a while ago, or I haven't been on Twitter since high school.
2015. I deleted that freshman year of college.
Yeah, pretty much. Once I got to sophomore year of college, I stopped.
Yeah, I was in college and I was seeing what everybody was tweeting from high school. I'm just like, I don't care about y'all's problems anymore, because that's what I felt like Twitter was used for. People were just going on there complaining about random shit. Right. No, it wouldn't even be stuff like that. It'd be like people getting into stupid political things.
It's exactly what Twitter is today. It hasn't changed at all.
Just getting into little political hizzies for no reason, but
let's go.
It's America.
So Biden dropped out, and then in a second follow-up tweet after he tweeted his resignation letter, and here's Conspiracy Way again.
Hold up, guys. A second tweet has hit the internet.
Second tweet hit the internet. But prior to the second tweet, here's the conspiracy, is that the letter that Biden supposedly wrote, and they admitted that his aide wrote the letter, or his close whoever wrote the letter. He didn't even write it, technically. But it's a typed letter. It's not written, which is fine. But it says Joe Biden at the top. Not President Joe Biden, not from the official White House or official presidential seal.
I mean, that actually makes me feel like it's actually written by him.
I don't think
he
so,
titles
dude.
it like that. He just sit down. He's like,
it just says Joe Biden at the top.
Right, exactly. It's like if they were trying to make it look like an official thing, he'd be like, I hereby, as President of the United States, and blah, blah, blah. Instead, he's just like, salty. He's like, they made me do this. Joe Biden.
He's so salty.
I resign. Good luck, fuckers.
Yeah, dude. So he's resigned, and then Conspiracy Way. There's no letterhead, blah blah blah, and it's a digital signature. So he didn't even sign it for real with his own hands. So it could have been anybody who signed for him, just like a online signature. Anybody could sign as long as you send it to someone's email. I
don't get it. You just have to copy paste the signature, right? It's not like you draw it, right?
I mean, there are some you can. It's like if you have a tablet, you can do an actual.
Is this
signature,
like a gas station kiosk?
Yeah, pretty much.
Freaking Joe
with the little pen. Yeah.
JB.
I mean, that's what it looks like.
It's so funny, man.
And so that's the conspiracy, is that he didn't write it, he didn't do it, he's not actually they forced him out. But then the other conspiracy is that he's terminally ill and he's about to die, and he has to pass on the nomination because he's going to be dead. But
that would be truly tragic if we witnessed the man's literal downfall mentally, and then his health collapse. Right, yeah. That would be truly tragic.
What? Though,
I mean, not they worked him to death. He
is
the president. He literally campaigned for the job, You know,
I mean,
it's
they-
like,
he
and
didn't-
he decided to go for it again
Yeah,
once
right.
he
I'm almost 99%
hit the ripe age of
sure
81 or whatever.
He said in his original in 2020, he said he was only going to do one term. I'm almost 99% sure he said that. But someone else on Google can fact check us on that. Fact check me on that.
Yeah, well, things
And
change.
then he goes, I'm gonna do a second term. And then all this past week he was defending. He's like, I'm the only one who can beat Joe Trump.
Right, I
I'm
think
the only
that's
one who can
exactly
beat
it.
him.
I think that he saw
then all of a
Trump's
sudden-
popularity rise again, despite losing the election, despite him being vastly discredited after the January 6 riots. He just,
The guy is made of Teflon. Everything just bounces off of him. He gets convicted of 34 counts or 34 indictments of some bullshit, in my opinion, and then it just makes him more popular. Honestly, if they put him in jail, he might win the next day. Like, there's nothing that they can do that can knock him off the horse. Like, he just is. I mean, they tried to kill him.
I mean, not
They.
they. You can't say it's they. It was a
They,
single
dude.
shooter. It was a single
They,
guy.
dude.
He does
He
not
had a
identify
handler.
as no, dude.
had a
It was
handler.
a he.
It was a CIA
It was crooks.
hit,
It was literally
dude. It was a
one
CIA hit.
disgruntled ex-Republican because he was probably fed up with the way his party is
He-
going.
He was registered with the Republicans. He made a $15 donation to Joe Biden in 2020. What does it matter? You sign up for this, you sign up for that. He took a shot at the president. That's all that matters. And he, thankfully he missed, because it could have been civil war after that. Like, it very well could have if he got his brains blown out on television like that. The Trump base is fervent enough that they would start a civil war probably over.
But who would they get mad at?
Oh, they would just generally riot against the government. I think.
Interesting.
That's just my opinion.
But it's like,
It
it's
would've-
not the government. That, like, the government respects the election, respects what the people think. They say, all right.
Do they
Donald
though?
Trump
They
won.
didn't have a general primary for the Democratic side. They were just like, well, Joe Biden's the sitting president. We're not going to have a primary against him.
Not necessary.
What do you mean it's not necessary?
They didn't have one with the Republicans.
Yeah, they did.
Did they? No,
Yeah, they did, dude. They had multiple debates
Not with
for the
Trump.
Republicans.
Not when
Trump didn't go because he didn't need to. At least there were debates. There were no debates for the Democrats.
Who was it? Just like Chris Christie, another salty
Dude, there
Trump
was
haters? Like, who were the guys?
There was
I
like
didn't
eight
hear
or
about this at
I'm
all.
gonna look it up right now. There was like 7 or 8 people who were running on.
And this is
on
2020. They had a whole
on the
Republican-
2024 for this election cycle.
I'm talking about 2020. I don't care about this time. Of course, there are going to be a bunch of Republicans running now. Trump isn't the incumbent. That's what we were
Yeah.
talking about.
In 2020. Yeah, there wasn't either.
Well, obviously,
Well,
because you don't
look.
compete against an incumbent. You just don't. The Republicans were backing Trump because he was a Republican. Obviously.
Yeah, no, that's true. But they just okay, I guess that's fine if you don't want to, but then at the same token, if they did, they wouldn't have this issue now where it's Joe Biden is now out of the race and they only have what is it, end of July already,
Yeah.
and we have until November, less than 3 months only.
Right, if they didn't just, like, you
and
know,
the
push
DNC,
off their homework until the last minute.
Yeah, and the DNC is in August. It's in 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, less than that maybe. Like how? Okay. And here's the
probably
thing: is
postpone
England
it.
and France just did snap elections. They did it within 2 weeks or 1 week. So like it's possible, and it should be doable in America, where we're supposedly the greatest nation in the world. If you're trying to make it the greatest nation in the world again, if you're a MAGA guy, or it's already the greatest nation in the world if you're a Democrat. Those are the two sides, right?
I don't think Democrats think we're the greatest nation in the world.
I mean,
I don't really think Democrats think about it that way anymore. I mean, personally, I think that ever since, like, you know, Nixon or so, like, there's really been very few reasons to think of America as, like, being this, you know, really virtuosic force to be reckoned with on the grand stage. We've been mostly
which is
acting out
terrible.
of self-interest and, you know, acting for what's
that's
going to
not
get
to
us
say-
more oil.
It's not to say we've never been acting out of we've always been acting out of self-interest since the inception of our country.
Nah, bro. Look at World War II. We were like,
Dude, we
We
were
don't wanna join this
supplying
shit.
the Germans all throughout World War II until we got attacked by the Japanese, and we were
I
like,
don't
all
think
right.
that's true. Look
Dude.
that up. Look that up.
The whole reason Fanta exists is because we couldn't sell them Coca-Cola. Because we were giving that to the Allies.
I thought Fanta was German.
I'm pretty sure it's American.
I don't know, bro. Might be getting some World War II things mixed up. But do prove me wrong. In the meantime, let us have a little music.
In August 1934, well, that's August 1934.
That's before Hitler. Actually, no, Hitler rose to power in 1933.
They did not sell weapons, but they did sell many other things useful to the war effort, such as specialist oils for the Luftwaffe and parts for trucks.
But they sold actual weapon and support to England, because they were allies in World War I, and they just respected the Western ideals.
Yeah, but if they were supposed to be totally good guys, if we were always supposed to be good guys, we wouldn't give any support to the Germans at any point.
There was a lot of, conflict in America whether or not we should be neutral or not. It was only until the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor that we decided not to be neutral. So it's like, I guess, we only joined the war effort and became the deciding factor.
We weren't even the deciding factor in World War II.
I would argue that America turned the tide.
It helped when we opened up another front
took over Europe in like 3 months. He took over
he did.
all of Europe.
He
dude.
fucking
He took
annihilated
over
Europe.
all of
It was
Europe,
crazy.
and he was pushing into Africa. And it was Rommel's men or whoever that they
Which
they
Africa
sent
is a
in there,
crazy
bro.
move, but there is a lot of
And
resources in
Russia. It
Africa.
was mostly Russia. That was his downfall. Trying to invade Russia and putting all of his effort into exterminating the
See,
Jews.
there you go. Russia was the main
But
reason for his downfall.
it was mostly trying to invade
It was trying to take Russia
Russia
during the winter, when he was already running out of fuel for his tanks. So
No, he just
but that's not to say that Russia didn't lose literally millions of people in that.
Right.
They lost like 20 million people. They lost an entire generation.
Drastically misunderstood Russian resolve. They are one of absolutely the hardiest, most downtrodden people in history. They have been.
They live on potato. No, those are the Irish. They live on vodka. Though.
They exactly. They live on vodka and sadness out there in Russia.
Yes.
It is a harsh thing to have grown up in Russia. It's like, especially if like you're a Russian Jew. Oh my gosh, the pogroms are every day in and day out.
Right.
Man. It's interesting thinking about it from that perspective, because it's like, for the most part, everything that as Americans we look at Russia as like, they're invading Ukraine right now. They're like a really aggressive nation, but the Russian people as a whole have just been, massacred essentially for
throughout
centuries.
civilization. For centuries,
it's
literally
like
for centuries.
You have to think about it from their perspective. A lot of it is just a defensive thing. It's a desire for security,
Right. Well, also, I mean, if you look at the map, like the literal landmass of Russia is gigantic. It's like, how much more resources do you like? How can you even secure those borders with how big it is, as it is? But they only really face like the interior.
There's not much going on. In most of
there's
Russia.
really not much going on in most of Russia.
And it's actually a little deceiving the way that maps work, just because things at the northern part of the globe of a dome are going to be actually smaller, but you lay them out flat, they look bigger. Like Greenland is not actually that big. Greenland is not like
Greenland's
the size
tiny.
of right. Greenland's not like the size of. It looks like it's the same size as South America when you look at it on a flat map, but it's not even close to being that bad.
No.
That big.
No.
It'll play some tricks on you. Russia is really damn big, though, for sure. It is easily the biggest country in the world, I'm pretty sure.
But it's also like Russia has a very aggressive culture in the way of like politics. Like, it's always been, and there's nothing wrong that like there was always like kings and queens and czars and stuff like that. That's how shit happened in the back then. Like, but then now it's still like dictator. They've been having dictators.
It is true.
Since they had dictators, aka the czars. Like, it's just always been dictators in Russia, which I think is why they have that such a hardy, stalwart like culture.
Lenin.
Yeah, they went straight to Lenin, and then it's like, well, okay, now we're just gonna kill everyone. Because
Right, and then
talking
Lenin
shit.
on his deathbed, he said, "Whatever you do, don't let Stalin take the throne." But...
And then Stalin took the throne, and then he killed another like 30 million people.
a bunch of Ukrainians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Putin took it over once the USSR collapsed, I think he took it over in 2000 or 2001 or something. No, that's when he started his second term as president. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I don't know that much about.
Yeah, before that is Mikhail Gorbachev.
Yeah,
doing a huge
Gorbachev.
birthmark on his head.
Yeah.
And then Boris Yeltsin, and then Nikolai Khrushchev. And then,
he's the one who ended. He's the one who took down the wall,
one
right?
Or two in between there.
With Reagan.
No, I think that was Gorbachev. I think that was or maybe Yeltsin.
How do we get to Russia?
Because it's important.
It is,
you know, and whoever is going to be president in the next term is going to be saddled with all of the issues that have arisen during Biden's presidency.
This is like, and it's not just Biden. This is not like, okay, Russia and Ukraine. I don't know. It's such a complex issue that it's hard. I don't even want to get into it on the podcast.
It's a story for another time.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just that I don't know. Russia's gonna do what Russia's gonna do. It's not like anyone actually wants to start World War III over Ukraine. As bad as that sounds, but it's true. Even though that Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe,
it doesn't matter.
They grow all the bread.
It doesn't matter what the spark is. You know, if there's the kindling around, it's the fire is gonna light. It's like what started World War I? The assassination of some random Serbian duke. No.
Yeah, France. I was literally just about to say that.
It's like if France did nothing wrong. It was France and England and Germany hating each other for centuries and competing and having wars for centuries before that. Yeah, no, there were so many factors that went into World War I, and there would be so many factors that would go into any kind of big global conflict today. But
which, I mean, the allies are already aligned.
I think it's kind of unlikely.
It's North Korea, China, and Russia, and maybe some other not so friendly, like maybe Iran, however you want to say it, versus the Allied powers again.
100 miles away. Or, I don't know. Is that 1,000
and it's
miles?
all of them they're all nuclear powers. So it's like, what's the point of even having a ground war?
Well, that's exactly the reason why I don't think that it's very likely that we would have a global war like that, because of, you know, the nuclear arsenal of all of these countries in question. Our destruction would be mutual. You know, mutually assured destruction is exactly the acronym that I was going to get into. We would all die. Most of us would die, and then it would be like Fallout, and whoever's left is going to have to fight over the radiated, mutated wasteland. Yeah.
Well, hopefully we become ghouls and we can live forever. Can keep running the pod as long as we get electricity going.
Don't you need like a steady supply of drugs though, and then you die as a ghoul?
Yeah, well, if you don't get the drugs, you become feral and then you go crazy. But if you get the drugs, you're good.
Would that good Kush survive a nuke? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Man, R.I.P. to the good Kush. So they're just doing all the bad drugs. All the ghouls are just doing the terrible drugs for you, like the fentanyl and the heroin.
I'm not really sure. There's like
their new drugs in Fallout Universe, the stim packs.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, that'd be sick if we had stim. Which just don't make any sense.
That would be so nice. Yeah.
It's like, oh, you have 10% health left. Oh, use a stim pack, you gain 30%. What?
Right. It's like in Bloodborne. Well, you're literally on the brink of death, and then you stab yourself with another kind of blood, and then you're good. You're good.
At least that, like, another kind of blood could be like, I don't know, demon blood, and it just heals you or something.
Yeah,
but
that's kind of the whole theme of the game, transfusions.
In Fallout, in the show, she just stabs herself with the thing, and then, like, she staples the wound, and then she's, like, healed. It's like, I guess you can't be like, oh, yeah, you use the thing, and then it just, like stitches itself up. Like, that wouldn't make sense either, but, like...
So they were trying to say is like maybe she got stabbed. It had some anti-infection. It had some like serum that it went in.
I guess that like stops the bleeding maybe, and like I don't know. They don't explain it. They just show it because it's so pertinent to the game.
Yeah, luckily she had a pack on her, dude.
Right. It's like,
did they explain how she got it?
She was in one of the Fallout shelters. Okay. So she got stabbed. She was banging a guy that she was getting married to, and he turned out to be a raider. And they broke into the vault, and then he tried to kill her, but she killed him.
Oh well, that's pretty tragic. Hey,
Yeah.
I mean,
That was her husband.
right. If you choose the money over hoes, it's gonna come back to get you though.
That's the Wastelanders lifestyle, bro.
It's
the
what
Raiders
you gotta
life.
do in the wasteland. You gotta look out for yourself out here.
Basically.
You're digging it though. I just started watching The Last of Us. I'm liking that.
I did not watch that.
very
I did
similar.
finish. I did finish Fallout. I did like it. I do want to start the second season of the new Game of Thrones. I can't.
Oh, House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
I need to finish Shogun, which is on FX. There's another show that started that I wanted to watch, but then it's just like I started playing a few new games, and I'm like, there's no time to watch TV.
Video games they're more rewarding than TV, and you get to interact with them.
And you get to interact with them. What I usually end up happening is like I'll be like, oh, this is interesting. All right, what's going on Twitter? What's going on Instagram? Like it's just like I can't hold my attention for long enough unless it's like I'm in the meat of the show
Or it's something you're really into.
or something I'm really
Like
into.
you're telling me that you dug the Fallout show. You said they did a good job.
It was
on
good
that.
enough. Yeah, it was very good and like good
And as
enough
somebody
that
who
I
plays
like
the games,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
feel it.
And it was accurate. It was like very accurate and faithful to the
That
games.
was the vibe I got when I saw the trailer. I was like, I didn't want to get my hopes up because it was an Amazon production, and I was just like, oh man, they're gonna really screw this up. But then I saw the trailer, I was like, okay, gosh, I actually have a little bit of hope. What the hell? Like they
really
had the
good.
suit. The suit looked perfect,
Yeah,
and like the vibe, the tone, like the ghouls looked so good.
The music is on
yeah,
point. Like,
right. The
they
vibe
literally
was there.
They literally just lifted the game into the show, which is amazing. Actually, it's really good. It's really well done.
Is the girl? Has she got any kind of like? Because I mean, it's tough as a video game to make the protagonist, like the player character, really doesn't do much. They're just
they
like,
don't have a
exactly,
voice, they
yeah. So
do the
how did they
text.
make her interesting?
So she's
I
like
get that in the Fallout. Do they do like Fallout 4, like she loses her baby or whatever? Like,
no,
like it doesn't follow
she's-
any kind of
so,
that plot line.
So the plot is that the Raiders come. She gets married. Like so, the very first episode is she wants to get married, but there's no one in her vault that she can get married to because they're all cousins at this point because it's been like 200 years or
Sweet
whatever.
home Alabama,
Basically. And so theirs is an interesting thing where there's like that's Vault 31, 32, and 33, and they're all connected. And so they were like, oh, we'll send a request over to Vault 32. They'll have someone you can marry that you're not related to. So they send these people come over, and they're wearing the Vault uniforms, and it's really the Raiders. So they do the wedding, they consummate, and then he tries to kill her, but she ends up killing him, and they fend off the Raider.
This is on their wedding night.
Yeah, they fend off the
it's
Raiders.
Like
but
more entertaining than a Dothraki wedding.
It's a good
It
start
sounds
to
like
the
there
show.
are more than 3 deaths.
It's a very good start to the show. And then they kidnap her dad, who is the overseer of the vault. And so her whole thing is she has to leave the vault to go and find her dad. And then you learn quite a bit about the Fallout universe in general, and some things that I didn't really even know, which is that like, and I've played Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. I've played Fallout 4 a few times, both of them a few times, and I never even thought about it. Was that the vaults were used as like experiments? Like, it's crazy. It's the show is very good, and I highly recommend it. And I don't want to ruin it for you and whoever else might want to watch it after because it is really good. The
I don't think you
plot's
really gave
good.
away
The
anything.
story's very
I don't
good.
think
It's
you gave
all
away
I
anything.
talked about was the first episode. So it's like, if you were to watch the first episode, that's it. But it's actually really, really well done. It's very the plot's really good. The story writing is really good. The actual like dialogue is good. It's engaging. The characters are engaging. They're good, and there's like very obvious main characters, and the introduction to them are good.
It's got one of that guy is the ghoul. It's what's his face? The X-Men Cyclops, right?
It might be.
I'm pretty sure it's that guy. I just can't think of his name. I like that actor though.
Yeah.
He's a lad. He's in Westworld. He's pretty good in that show.
Is he?
He's Dolores.
Which one is he?
He's Dolores' lover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's I can't remember.
Right now, you can't think of his name either.
Teddy. His
Yeah,
name is
Teddy.
Teddy in the
I'll put his face up
Yeah.
on the
No,
pod when I'm
he's a
editing.
handsome guy. He's a very
right.
handsome man.
And then they make him a ghoul.
Yeah.
They waste all that by making him a ghoul. Unless you're into that, hey,
Maybe
whatever,
that's
man.
him. I don't know because I don't want to ruin it. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
We'll leave
Marsden, James Marsden.
James
That's his
Marsden.
name.
I'm happy you
Yeah.
remembered it. That was a real
Yeah.
fart in the brain
It was a
type
stumper.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah, highly recommend the Fallout show. Shogun is good. It's good enough. It's so good that it's based on a book that I decided to start listening to the audiobook on Spotify. And it's a two-parter on Spotify, and they're like 40 hours each. So I'm almost through the first half, the first part, starting the second part soon. And it's good. It's really good.
And you're following it, even though you're just listening.
Yeah, because I watched like the first 5 episodes. So like I have
It's
an
more
idea.
supplementing. What
Exactly.
You already
and
know.
the thing is and this is the huge main difference between books and movies or shows is that you get the inside scoop. You get the insight of what the characters are actually thinking when you read the book. So it's like you can in the show the character will just act and you'll just have to assume they did it for this reason or that reason unless they explain it later on explicitly. Or like the character has like a monologue and they have explaining why they're doing things, which is very unlikely. Unless it's like a Game of Thrones type thing where it's like, oh, this family is scheming to take out that family for obviously to get the throne. Like that's obvious. But in this show it's not as obvious. So in the book it's nice to be like, oh, well this character has these types of traits and that's why they act in this way and this is why they did that. And like, or it just says their thought process in, like thought bubble, whatever. So
Right.
you know.
How do you do that in an audiobook? It's like in a book when somebody is thinking, they do like italics if like you're in your own head.
Yeah,
Does
yeah.
the author just like change their voice or the
Yes,
speaker?
they're
just like
if they're thinking in a certain character, they'll think in their voice.
Interesting.
They'll narrate in the voice that they would speak in for
but
the
it
character.
still is hard to know. Are they speaking or are they thinking?
Right.
Because you don't see quotation marks.
And in
you know?
that aspect, it is confusing sometimes. Cause I'll be like, "Who the fuck is talking?" And who are they talking? What are they talking? Like, is he saying this out loud? But then it's like a lot of the times it is obvious because he'll be like, "Oh, I think that," or like, maybe I don't know. So usually it's obvious, but sometimes it's like, "Oh, I'm not sure if he's saying this or he's thinking this."
And I feel like it would be really tough if like the two characters are having like back and forth
conversation and they're
without
both
any
thinking.
he said, they said, whatever, you know.
Yes, and that does
it's just
happen a
like-
lot.
Yeah,
And it's
because
like-
I mean that's a normal thing that authors do. You don't want to say, Sanjay said, Matt said over and over and
Right.
over again. It should be obvious
Exclaimed.
who's talking.
Yeah.
when-
And you know what? I always remember, like, whatever, in high school or even college, if you had to write a story or something, it's like, oh, I would always be like, how the fuck do I have these two characters talk without saying, oh, he said and he exclaimed or he yelled or shouted or, like, saying he said this, but in a different way of saying instead of said. Like,
no, doing anything like dialogue is really tricky for sure.
which, I mean, thankfully, I'm not a writer.
You could be. Anybody can be a
Anybody
writer.
could be, technically.
Right, exactly. It's
I
like
just need a typewriter.
Ratatouille, all of us are a chef. We all have a little rat in our head. We just gotta bring it out. Bring
Yeah,
out the
you gotta
inner
let him
rat.
Pull your hair.
Only
and
if he's
control you.
cooking. Don't be a rat for the feds or
Yeah.
anything like that. That's how you get unchill
I was
points.
watching American Dad yesterday, and I don't know who this character is, but he was running around with the principal from Stan's school, or not Stan. Stan's the dad. What's the kid's name? Steve. He was just running around with the principal from Steve's school, and the character, I can't remember his name, but he's like gray. He almost looks like he could be an alien like Roger, but he's just like gray and all stitched up, like sewn together, and he's really creepy. And at one point, they're like, oh, why are you helping the principal? Like, because they're like, I don't know, they did something. And he goes, I've already got stitches, so why not be snitches? And it was just like the creepiest fucking thing, dude.
It's such an American Dad joke. It's so stupid.
It was terrible, but
No,
it was
it's funny.
funny. It was funny.
No, that is American Dad humor in its best. It's like you can't help but laugh because it's so
stupid.
Yeah, no.
American Dad is a great show.
No, it is. I think it's
a great
at its
one to
best.
just
It's better
turn
than
your brain
Family
off
Guy.
to.
Actually, it is.
Early Family Guy is really good.
Some early Family Guy is pretty good.
Early
But I don't know.
Family Guy is really
When American Dad is really slapping, it's really funny. But I watched a lot of that
Yeah.
show in college, and I came to kind of loathe it just because anytime I'm watching too much of a show and I don't actually feel like watching it, I kind of don't love comedies. Also, I want to watch them in little bits and pieces. Kind of. I don't want to watch it straight through like that. I don't know. It's still pretty funny though.
No, it's a good show.
It's a good one. Steve is funny. But Roger's just hilarious. Anything that comes out of Roger's mouth is just
just ridiculous.
He's just the most ridiculous character. Doesn't understand earthly conventions at all.
He just doesn't care for them.
And he just he might understand him. He just literally doesn't give a fuck.
He's like he just doesn't give a fuck, and he's like to overdrive maximum.
Yeah, exactly. That is literally right. His character just on steroids. I don't give a fuck. Blown up. Well, good shit. Sanjay, I enjoyed our pod here.
Yeah,
I like that we
solid.
just kind of went random directions. I know that we wanted to come out here and kind of talk about
there's
Biden
only
and Trump a
so
little further.
much that you can hear about Biden and Trump, and I feel like we said what we needed to say. I said what I needed to say. It's just a shit show. Left side, right side, center. Nobody is happy with. There's 350 million Americans.
The shit
and
gets thicker.
Whatever. Only so many people can be run for president. Blah blah blah. But you know what? There's really only 400 people who are ever in the running at any given point in time, and they're all the most elite people in the country that we'll never ever relate to. So you know what? The whole game of politics is a shit show. There's no left. There is no right. It's the same fucking thing. It's just how you want to dress it up. Sure, the left might care about more progressive things, and the right might be less progressive, more like biblical or religious or whatever. But that's just that's just their trappings. That's just how they get you in. And then once you're in, you become brainwashed. It's like, just fucking think outside the box a little bit.
It's like I wish we could do away with the party system like that.
You can have opinions that differ from
your party
or your friends or your family. That's what makes us people. Like, we are different. It's
and
just
that's
like
what makes America such a great country. All of these ideas can exist and coexist, and we're not going to go to war with each other, even though we may disagree.
Yeah,
we're going to, use our systems to come to a compromise. It's not always going to be the prettiest thing, but that's
it hardly
how
ever
America gets shit done.
Exactly. The best compromises are the ones where everybody is unhappy. That's just how it's always been since the dawn of history. But you know what, guys?
That was beautiful.
It's been a pod. And it's been a crazy time in this day in America. So you know what? I want y'all to kick back, chill, and enjoy yourselves, because we're in for a wild ride this election season.
And that's it, people. You heard it here first.
Thanks for tuning in to the Full Honest Pod. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.